So I will go ahead and get started. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to those of you that have joined us before and anyone that's new. My name is Amy, and I am part of the GrowthZone marketing team. And of course, we're thrilled to have author and speaker Kyle Sexton with us today. And before we get started, I'm going to cover just a few housekeeping items, and then we'll hand it over to Kyle ASAP. As a reminder, we leverage our social media platforms to share free resources for associations and chambers. You can find us everywhere from Facebook to Pinterest to LinkedIn. So whether it's blog posts, articles by industry experts, research papers, if it's helpful to you, membership professionals, we put it out there. So check us out online. Hello to our customers. Thanks for taking the time to be here. And we are glad to have you. For those of you that aren't familiar with GrowthZone, I encourage you to join one of our online group demos. And you can see our membership management software in action. Go to growthzone.com and the sign up button is right there on the homepage. And I'll also share the link in the chat section throughout the presentation. So that is something I encourage you to do. It's no pressure, just a chance to take a look at what we have to offer. Yes, the webinar is being recorded. So again, the webinar is being recorded.
Amy, I have a quick question.
Yeah.
I have a quick question. Is the webinar being recorded?
You know, it's weird. The webinar is being recorded. So regardless of whether or not you are able to stay with us the whole time, or if you know somebody that registered and wasn't able to attend, everyone that signed up will receive the webinar, the recording of the webinar, along with the slide deck. And so regardless of who's here and who isn't, everybody will get a copy of the recording, and that should be in your inbox here in the next 24 hours. So keep an eye out for that. Of course, Kyle is going to take a deep dive today into the whys and hows of email marketing automation for associations and chambers. As a bonus, complementing his presentation, remember to check out our free marketing automation guide. It's a great resource for member-based organizations, regardless if you're currently using an email marketing automation system. It has a lot of helpful tips. And if you're just now considering it and aren't using it, it's a really great way to evaluate what you should be looking for in a system. You can find it in the resources section on growthzone.com. Kyle has a great program called Mission Met. You can find a little bit more about that on his website. So I wanted to be sure and mention that. Now, if you have questions or comments, basically comments, please be sure to put them in the chat section and double check that your chat section, if you want to visit with each other, double check that your chat section is set to, you should be able to look and see if you are communicating with the whole group or just to me and Kyle. And if you want to just chat with me, that's great. Let's get to know each other. But if you are trying to chat with the group, make sure that you are set that way. If you do have something in particular that you want me to see, please put it in all caps. That way I'll know, because sometimes that chat really gets going and I can't keep up with everything. So if you have questions on that, put it in the chat. We will try to get to Q&A at the end of the presentation, and we'll have Kyle answer as many questions as possible. So if you have ideas for questions you want asked, you can also put those in the chat section in all caps, please. So let's move on to the reason that we are here. So a little bit about Kyle. He is an award-winning marketing strategist and speaker, and he is an authority on membership development, technology integration, and marketing and innovation. He thrives on empowering operations to leverage their unique stories and their messaging. Kyle is, and I think a lot of you know this, he's a veteran marketer and he has 23 years of experience. His books and presentations have been seen and read by thousands upon thousands of membership professionals in all of his years. And he is great to join us today and also teach people how to cultivate their strategies and their tactics in order to grow their organizations. You can check out one of his, or a couple of his books, Remembership and Follow You Anywhere. He also has a podcast, Trajectory. You can find out more details on all of that on kylesexton.com. And so without further ado, I'm going to hand it over to Kyle. And here we go.
Thank you, Amy. Appreciate that so much. Boy, I'm excited about this topic because this is something that I live for. I love this stuff. Marketing automation is allowing organizations to grow whether or not you are in the office. Interesting thing, across the country right now, many of us are still or back to working from home. And that presents some challenges if you're used to having people come to you to join. But when I first started in the chamber world, before I started working with associations and with organizations across North America, it was back in 2001, and my focus in 2001 was membership development, but we had a problem, and our CEO said, we need somebody on our team to take on our website and to own it and to champion it. And what I suspected, I didn't know 100% at the time, but I suspected that having a great website, was way back in 2001 when not everybody had one, but having a great website would result in greater membership sales at some point. And so I sheepishly raised my hand and said, I'll do it. I don't know anything about it, but I'm willing to try, and I see why it's important. So with that being said, what I spent so much time in the next year was learning about this term that came around later, much later, about 10 years later, this term called inbound marketing. And inbound marketing also has another feature. It's called inbound selling. And so what we were able to do, because I had a revenue growth mindset as we built our website, as we built our email systems. And remember, this is back 20 years ago, almost now, gosh. But it's so helpful and important to think about your website as something that's working for you when you're not. Something that is working for you when you are not. So because I was the membership director, I was paid on commission, and I had the blessing of our CEO and the rest of our team to build out the website, I also took a little extra time and built out a sub website that was just for taking people through a tour, a similar tour that I would give in person if someone had called and reached out and said, hey, I'm interested in membership. So I built this tour online through this sub little website, and people started to take that tour, and something really interesting happened. We were really, really surprised, and this actually plays out even 20 years later, to see the times in which people are actually taking tours, times of day. You know what's interesting? About 2/3 of the people who took that tour did it when the office was closed. Now, I know a lot of you have the lock on your office right now for COVID and pandemic reasons, right? Or maybe you've got a stay-at-home order that's been reauthorized in your community. Totally get that. But when things get back to normal, wouldn't it be nice if you also had this online salesman working for you even when you are not in the office? So two-thirds of tours of membership information were taken when the office was closed. We had some other statistics from through the years, and so I'm going to share more of that with you. Okay. All right. So let me share my screen. We got all kinds of screens we're sharing here today. All right. I'm going to move that over. I got to move that. All right, here we go. All right. Amy, go ahead and can you turn your audio on and just give me a thumbs up that you can see my screen? Give me an audio thumbs up.
I can see it.
All right. Thank you very much. All right. So there there are 4 steps. There are 4 key steps to getting new members in your inbox. And they are capture, nurture, deliver, and offer. Actually, I got the order wrong. Capture, deliver, nurture, and offer. Capture, deliver, nurture, and offer. So the idea behind getting new members in your inbox is to have what we call an ethical bribe. So we've got to be able to know who's coming to our website to gather information. So many of you have been in, whether you're an association or a chamber, you've been delivering so much great value. You've been filtering all the information that's out there and delivering intelligence to your members. We want to make sure that we try to capture that as much as possible. So smart organizations are actually using all the intelligence that they're offering to do some list building. That means we're capturing all the names and email addresses of the businesses that are interested in becoming smarter because of you and your chamber, because of you and your association. If you're not capturing that information, if you don't have a mechanism for that, if you're not engaging in the ethical bribe, you're leaving so much value on the table. So this first concept in inbound marketing is the idea that we can turn strangers into friends. We then turn friends into members. We can turn members into loyal members. Loyal members then refer to us, their friends, who are our strangers, who become our friends, who become our members, who become our loyal members. And if you've seen the Kyle Sexton show at any point in the past, you've seen me talk about this. But here's where we figured out the digital side of things. Strangers are visitors. Friends are leads, and members become customers, right? And then loyal members become promoters in the digital sense. Okay, so we have visitors, leads, members or customers, and then promoters. And this is where we turn inbound marketing into inbound selling. If we can capture this information, we can do that by capturing the recommendations or capturing the strangers who come to our website because they're curious. We can deliver value before the transaction and engage them. We can show them samples. We can give them free value before we ask them to join. We can then nurture the relationship. Remember, capture, deliver, nurture, and then offer. So delivering value before the transaction means we've got to figure out what we can offer for free to show people what we do in the world. Okay. And then nurturing the relationship is all about keeping in touch. Okay. We're going to dive deeper into each of these 4 things. If you've seen me talk about strangers and friends and members and loyal members before, don't make the mistake of thinking you've seen this presentation before, because you have not. I'm going to share with you some details and information that perhaps has never been shared in the association world before, but what I'm sharing with you isn't membership related. It's engaging people through digital. Okay, this is business stuff, but we're going to use an association and a chamber vocabulary. Okay, so strangers become friends. We got to capture that information so that we know who we're delivering value to. Right now, you're delivering value by filtering all the bad information and sharing information with your members that's been vetted. That's what they need to know. It's more concise, right? That's how you filter out all the information. You deliver intelligence, right? That's what your members expect from you. But what about the people who are future members? Because you're delivering value by email to your members, you could be delivering value by email to your future members. We want to develop a system for that. And I'm so excited that GrowthZone has ventured into marketing automation with some features that are being tested right now. Oops, I'm probably not supposed to talk about that. But you probably got that hint if you've downloaded their guide to marketing automation. This is something that software companies like GrowthZone are really invested in, because these are the things that are best practices. And as you know, I'm a big fan of best practices. I'm not so much a fan of industry standards because they're often not the same. All right. So what's the problem here? The problem is that when I go to most of your websites, we go from stranger to offer. We try to capture with an offer really quick, and it gets creepy. Right? It's the proposal that is way too soon. Okay. So I'm going to show you an example of this because there's a predictable path that we got to follow with every single relationship that we start that ends up being a member and hopefully a loyal member for many, many years. But this is just marketing 101. And I can't make it any more simple than this. The path is curiosity, enlightenment, and then commitment. Curiosity, enlightenment, and commitment. So many times, I'd say 95%, maybe higher, of association and chamber websites I go to, when I click on join for membership information, there's zero enlightenment. It takes me straight from curiosity to commitment. Okay, I'm going to show you an example of an awesome website, one that I absolutely love. This is McKinney Chamber in Texas, an awesome organization. And I'm going to show you exactly what I'm talking about, though. That arrow is pointing to their Join Today button that I hope is also on your homepage. And like 95 to 99% of organizations, it takes you to the membership application. And it's just too soon. We went straight from commitment, skipping over enlightenment, we went straight from curiosity, skipping over enlightenment, and moving right into commitment. So my mission has been to help in your sales process to interrupt that thing online. Okay. So in order to do that, we've got to engage people. Enlightening means engaging them as to why they're there in the first place. So I'm going to show you some ideas on that. But first, we got to talk a little bit about the technology. I got to make sure that you understand what the transaction is that we're asking for and how we can engage with people on this. Okay. So we want to capture the lead through that ethical bribe. We're going to exchange something useful, helpful, and or valuable in exchange for the user's email address. So they're going to come to your site. I'm a user and I come to your site and you've got something I want. You've got a report, you've got a case study, you've got an instructional how to do something. And yeah, you probably have a lot of those things already on your website ready to download right then and there. But if you put them behind this, what I call the ethical bribe wall, then you get to trade it. You get to see who's actually engaging. This way, you're able to find out who's looking at it that might not be a member yet. And this is how you get new members in your inbox. We've got to capture that information, capture that lead. So there's some jargon here. You've maybe heard about terms like lead magnet, lead generator. A lead magnet is what attracts them. Okay, usually it's a document or it's a video or it's a how-to. It's some sort of content. Okay, audio, video, written word, something. Okay, that's simple enough. But that's the lead magnet. Okay, something useful, valuable, helpful. The technological part though is called the lead generator, and the lead generator is that little bit of software that goes on your website that says, "Aha! Wait a second." Before I give you this ethical bribe time, tell us your name and your email address, and we'll email it to you. Okay. So undoubtedly you have participated in this. In fact, you all did it when you signed up for a webinar. Webinar is a great lead capture, lead magnet. And if you're not doing webinars, if you're an association, you're not doing webinars, absolutely start doing webinars. And record those webinars. Yes, this webinar is being recorded. And then you can use that webinar, the recorded webinar, as a lead capture system. You can do, have you ever noticed that you go to some authors' websites and they'll give you the first couple of chapters of their book, download it for free. That is their lead magnet. Okay. It's attracting people in. The lead generator then converts it. Now you got to have the lead generator doesn't just exchange the email address for the thing, the lead generator actually has to be able to store or provide or pass on the lead information to a place that is stored on the web. Okay. So now that we got those, now that we got the technological part, the jargon part of all this figured out, the lead magnet ideas that I want to share with you are something related to how to do something. So if you're an association, you probably specialize in some skills development and that sort of thing. These are the sorts of things that do really well. Now you might think, gosh, the more lead magnets that we have, the better. Well, first start with one. Okay. First start with one and then test it. See what actually helps convert. And I know that a lot of great digital marketers and people who are able to convert strangers into members throughout the year will use different lead magnets throughout the year, and they'll rotate them. Okay, so the skill development is a big one. The report, if you've got insights to your industry, if you've got insights to your community, to policy, to workforce, whatever your core functions are, your members are attracted to those insights. And you might think that some research study that you did 2 years ago is now dated and no longer relevant. But just because you gave it to your members doesn't mean it's not also valuable to future members. So those reports, those studies that you've conducted in your industry, if you package them up and you can offer them, there's a great lead magnet. So insights. A white paper is, nobody really wants to download a white paper. What they want are a case study. They want case studies. So telling stories, get your best writers on the team to help you tell stories about how your customers, your members are using your membership, how they are finding success in their goals by producing a white paper, a case study that for you to tell that story. Okay. So that's another, it's be a document. Most of those are done in a PDF form, these case studies, but we're also seeing some case studies start to come through video. So the first step though, is to write it out. And then you've got a skeleton for a script that you could also turn into a video. And we see that we see that videos do convert. When it comes to lead magnets, videos convert better than documents. Okay. So the other thing that I wanted to share with you is something that I've been working on for many years. And it's the idea of creating a personality test. What kind of member are you? And that's what the enjoin process is that I've been teaching for about the last year. The enjoin process takes the inbound marketing, inbound selling, and puts it into membership structure kind of language, because we have different types of members, right? One of the things that I'm known for in associations and chambers of commerce is I help teach you that you're not running a membership organization. You're running 4 different membership organizations. So with a personality test, we're able to see what kind of member they might be and then make recommendations for how to engage with your organization as a member. Okay. So that is in and of itself, a lead generating kind of a program. Okay. So those are some lead magnet ideas to help you capture the people who are curious about your organization so that you can enlighten them over time. So now let's talk about delivery, because it's so important that we deliver value before the transaction. Why? I'll show you some math that really kind of helps to illustrate this. But in a nutshell, people are very cautious with their trust and their attention. If they don't know you, if you don't have a reputation in their book yet, right? So if they've come to you and they're not coming from a referral, the trust is going to be lower. If they came from a referral or recommendation, trust is going to be higher. But what we know is that the premium is what the premium brands do. The premium brands are able to deliver more value before the transaction, and it results in a higher sale. It might take longer, but doesn't have to. But delivering value, the whole point here is find opportunities to deliver value before the transaction. Now, we do this in face-to-face sales too. I teach a consultative selling process that is where we interview a business. You might call it a membership sales meeting. I call it a business interview, so that we can figure out if there is some value. It's at that point, it might become a membership meeting if they're interested in the value that we can provide. So, so delivering value before the transaction can happen digitally. It also needs to happen in your in-person sales process, rather than just share the information of here's how to buy, here's what you get. Let's enlighten them. Let's deliver more value before the transaction than they've ever seen before. That is how you get people to invest more. They invest longer term. They make that decision right then and there to not just join, but they also may make the decision to renew long term right then and there, because we've seen over and over again, the more value we're able to deliver before the transaction, not just the more they invest, but they might invest in a multi-year membership right at that moment, if you make that part of your offer. We'll talk a little bit about the offer a little bit later. All right. So I want to talk a little bit about delivering value to strangers versus delivering value to friends. Okay. So Seth Godin tells a story about trying to sell $5 bills for $1 at the bus station. All right. So imagine this. Imagine you go down to the bus station, you're selling $5 bills for $1, because that's what we do. That's kind of what we do with membership in our organizations. We create value. We turn their few hundred or a few $1,000s in investment, and we turn it into 2x, 5x, 10x return. Right? That's what people want when they're buying something. They want something that is of a greater value. So in this illustration, we'll call it a 5x value. You give me $1, I give you 5 back, but you're at a bus station. You're surrounded by strangers. So you go up to somebody and they give you the Heisman, the Heisman trophy, right? They hold the ball. Tuck the ball, and you got the hand right there. The hand is protecting everything. So you try to sell something to a stranger, you're going to get the Heisman. The Heisman, you don't want the Heisman. I mean, we're not football players. You don't want that. They're going to say, you're a stranger. I don't trust you. Your offer is a little too good to be true. You seem a little crazy selling 5. You get the idea. You contrast that to this idea where you're going to go to your neighbor's house. And today, you're going to go to your neighbor's house today. You're going to put $5 in their mailbox. Okay. And then tomorrow, you're going to do the same thing. And the next day, you're going to do the same thing. And the next day, you're going to do the same thing. And the next day, you're going to do the same thing. And on day 6, you go knock on your neighbor's door and you say, hi, I'm Kyle. I'm the one who's been putting $5 bills in your mailbox. I'm selling them for $1. Would you like to buy one? So the idea here is that you've delivered trust. They believe you, right? Because they've been, and who else would know that they've been getting $5 bills in their mailbox? Because they were receiving it. Now you come and make your offer. Now you have credibility. So it's the same kind of concept there. Delivering value before the transaction doesn't mean delivering value before the transaction to any Yahoo that comes around. It means knowing who you want to deliver value to, crafting your value around their problems, and what's keeping them up at night, their pains. Okay. So if you want more just terrific stories about delivering value before the transaction, read Utility by Jay Baer. Utility. Great book. And Jay is a terrific speaker, a terrific marketing strategist, and all around fantastic guy. So highly recommend that book. If you don't do anything else, if you don't get anything else out of this, check out Utility by Jay Baer. All right. So we know that greater value, the more value we deliver before the transaction, the higher the sale and or the longer the relationship. Okay. So capture, deliver, let's go to nurture. And we got some time. We'll have some time for questions as well. So I want to remind you that yes, we are recording this. And if you want to use the question box, use the Q&A box to type in any questions that you have. That will help us to separate the chat from the questions. Okay. So if you got questions about lead capture, if you got a question about lead generation, lead magnets, quizzes, whatever you want to talk about. You want to talk about how to nurture. That's what we're talking about next. So any questions that you have, I want you to go ahead and type it into the Q&A box for us. All right. So nurturing the relationship. We really want to be able to connect with people over time. So rather than just grabbing their information and then just, that's it, nothing. We know that keeping in touch with them over time is a great way to help to create a relationship in absence of one-on-one contact. I'll give you an example. I work a lot with chambers of commerce, and I created a year ago. I created a 30-day video sequence called Chamber Daily, and so almost every day, for about 30 days after you sign up, almost every day you're going to get an email that has a Chamber Daily tip in it. And so it's a way for people to it's a way for you to deliver value. There's probably 20 different ones over 30 days. So you can see that you can take this as far as you want, but it starts with just one. So don't think that you have to create 30 days of videos. That's not the point. The point is to create something interesting and engaging that people want. And I've helped a lot of chambers of commerce because I had that list during COVID. I was able to deliver value to those people in a time specific way too, because I could use that list again to give some even more timely advice and instruction to people who are to organizations who are having some tough questions about how to renew, when to renew during a time of economic downturn and panic. So so we want to be able to nurture the relationship. You want to capture this information in a place where you can store it, where you can use it, where you can also identify when people become members. And that's why I'm again so excited that GrowthZone is creating this. Is working on marketing automation. It's going to be wonderful for the platform. So here's the real math that I want you to pay attention to. It's the idea behind there's a thing called logical buyers and emotional buyers. Have you heard about this before? Logical buyer. Do you know which one you are? Because the thing is, you tend to sell in the same way that you buy. And so it turns out I'm an emotional buyer. And so my tendency is to be an emotional seller. And so when people pepper me with questions, logical questions, because they're a logical buyer, I'm not, and my nature is not to be prepared for that. So I have to do some work to think through what people's questions are. They're not objections, they're questions, in order to appease the logical buyer. They have to check these boxes, the logical buyer. That's not natural to me. Okay. But the thing is, if you're a logical buyer, and about 2/3 to 3/4 of any market are logical buyers, if you're a logical buyer, then you may have already presented all of your information in a very logical way that isn't necessarily compelling to the emotional buyer. So it's this really kind of interesting thing. So the reason that you want to keep in touch is because people have questions. And there are some people who don't. The emotional buyer, 1 out of 10 will join right away. The emotional buyer, they get it. They don't need you to finish the tour. They don't need to answer all the questions. They knew why they came to your website in the first place. They said, I could be convinced to buy something today. And that's what they did. So 1 out of 10 will join online right away. But when you keep in touch, and the reason that we want to nurture the relationship is that we can get an additional 3 out of 10. That's a total of 4 out of 10 who come to your website to engage with your free thing if you keep in touch. If you don't keep in touch, 1 out of 10. If you do keep in touch, 4 out of 10. So maximize your revenue. Don't leave any money on the table. Don't leave any members on the table. Don't leave any businesses unserved. Don't leave any future members unserved. It's a huge increase in sales. Okay. So the cool thing is, we're talking about automation today, new members in your inbox. You can automate your nurture sequence. And this is one thing that we've been really working on with this enjoin process as well, because wouldn't it be nice if you could update your website and have it automatically or automagically nurture your email list, connect with them. Well, it can happen, but not if you update your website. It can happen if you update your blog. And as it turns out, just about every website has a blog. It's been a long time since I've seen a website that doesn't have one. It can be hard to find one if you haven't used it yet. But all the websites that GrowthZone makes have a blog. In fact, they've got multiple blogs if you know how to use them and what you're doing. So I want you to hear me on this one though. Each time you blog to every time you post something on your blog, it could be feeding your nurture sequence. It could be nurturing the relationship to get more people to understand you, to know you, to trust you, to like you, and to get them further along their pathway of joining. So each time you post to your blog, you could be keeping in touch with future members in their inbox. Many of you actually have access to this technology right now, and you don't even realize it. If you have an email management system, you've got this sort of automation already. You just need to put content into your blog. And for the last 3 or 4 years, I've been trying to get organizations to feed their blog. It's this monster. It just needs to be fed. But hear me on this. A blog is not something that you have to do. A blog is a place. It's not a thing. A blog is a place to put the things you've already done. So if you're sending out email newsletters and you've got 4 articles in a newsletter or 6 articles in a newsletter or 3, whatever, each one of those articles could be a separate post to your blog. And the good thing is the more posts that you have on your blog, the more pages you have on your website. That's how Google reads it. It actually is. Every post to your blog is a page. Now, a blog has an RSS feed, and that's what makes this so helpful. Is your blog has an RSS feed. That's what makes it a blog that can help automate. It pings other things. The blog is central to your marketing automation. You got to put your content in a place where people can find it. So imagine that you just posted your blog. I've downloaded a case study from your website, and I got that by email. And then the next day you posted something to your blog. I can also get your blog by email because I signed up for that. And it's a way that you can automate the nurture sequence that is so helpful to engaging people in the work that you're doing. Okay. So that's the first 3 of 4 of capture, deliver, and nurture. And now I want to talk to you a little bit about the offer, and then we're going to open it up for questions. I see we've already got 3 questions in there. Fantastic. We'll get to those questions. I'll put that right over there. All right. So I mentioned logical buyers and emotional buyers. The frequently asked questions is one of these things that really helps logical buyers to make a decision more quickly. So if you on your membership page, on your join page, if you don't have frequently asked questions, and we're talking about the simplest of things, the simplest of questions. Okay, so is your association part of a government entity? No, we're an independent organ. Like the simplest of questions. Have your frequently asked questions be abundant and easy to access. Okay, easy to access. We know that websites that have frequently asked questions associated with the offer have higher conversion rates. Okay, so frequently asked questions helps those logical buyers. All right, so here's something that blew my mind, and this is from HubSpot. HubSpot is the leading as a thought leader organization company around inbound marketing, inbound selling, and marketing automation. They're a real leader. This is something that I learned a few years ago at their conference, and it just really stopped me in my tracks. along with your frequently asked questions, have your cancellation policy in there. What it is, it's called risk reversal. And you might be familiar with risk reversal. Every time you buy something and you go, well, they got a money back guarantee. Money back guarantee is a risk reversal. It's not the only risk reversal. Cancellation policy, just sharing how easy it is to cancel if you're not entirely satisfied, is part of that risk reversal. Okay, I'm not locking myself in for a 10-year commitment here. It's easy. If I don't like it my first year, it's easy for me to cancel, and they put steps to do it. Here's the thing. You would think that that would make it easier for people to cancel your membership, and you are trying to not make it easy for people to cancel your membership. But it turns out that the organizations who have their cancellation policy prominently displayed end up selling more memberships than they lose. So having a cancellation policy as part of your offer helps people convert from a friend to member. Okay. Here's the other really interesting thing. Online scheduling helps increase conversions pretty significantly. Even if this part baffles me to this day, can't figure it out, but even if they don't use it. What? So websites that have the ability, how are you going to contact us? Phone, email, you're going to do a chat bot, or maybe a live chat online. But they've tested over and over again online scheduling, websites that have online scheduling as one of an additional option have higher conversion rates. They have higher sales conversion rates, whether they use it or not. So it amplifies, just having the ability to schedule a meeting with a real live person. And here's the thing, it's going to be way better to have it actually built into an online scheduling system like Calendly or Schedule Once or something like that. But online scheduling increases conversions from your website, whether they use it or not. Turns out people do use it. And guess who uses it? The people who invest the most. The people who end up investing the most are also the most likely, in my experience, to use your online scheduling. So if you don't have online scheduling, it is so easy to set it up. There's so many tools that are out there that will help you do that for free or for very low cost. I use the paid version of anything that I like because the number of options that I have, and I want to make sure it doesn't go away. I want to make sure it's working. All right. So here's the other thing that I want to share with you about these things. And that is all three of these things can and should also go on your contact page. Because it turns out your contact page is one of those pages that people look at before they look at your offer. I'm going to say that again. All of these things should go not just on your join page where you make your offer, but it also should go on your contact us page. Contact us, schedule a meeting to contact us. Contact us. Looking for cancellation information, click here. Having your cancellation policy on your contact page increases conversions from stranger to friend to member. And frequently asked questions, because logical buyers have a lot of questions. And if they don't want to wait, to have the meeting with you that they schedule, then putting those frequently asked questions in there is really helpful for all those logical buyers. All right, so that's what I wanted to share with you all. I know that we've got a bunch of questions. Let's start tackling. Let's see, John says, in fact, John's been waiting patiently for me to answer this question. Hi, John, by the way. Hi, long time no see. Is there a chamber website that has the engagement content already on it? Yes, there are. There are many. You can check out what that engagement content looks like if you go to my website, John, and there's a couple of buttons on that page, kylesexton.com, that says introducing and join, and you can actually see what that engagement content can look like. So Lisa asks, our membership is free, but I can flip this to create donations. Yes. In fact, Lisa, one thing that you should look at is two things I want you to look at. A book called Building a Story Brand by Donald Miller. is all about how you can tell better stories. And then I want you to look at Charity Water. Charity Water is one of those organizations worldwide that has bought hook, line, and sinker into the StoryBrand methodology. So first, read the book or listen to the book. It's a great read, very helpful, very interesting. And then go check out Charity Water and see how they use storytelling to drive contributions, to drive donations. It's this exact same thing. They have lead capture, they're keeping in touch, and they're nurturing with stories. And it's beautiful. Charity Water, one of my favorite organizations because of how they operate, not just efficiently, but they really appease the donors' needs. They really create that. So love that. Great question, Lisa. Lisa, let's see. Yep. Lisa Workman says, does the news release component of GrowthZone and Chamber Master websites function the same as a blog? It might, if it has an RSS feed. And the way to do that is to go to type in your URL name. So Lisa, type in your associate, your organization's URL, and then do a /feed, FEED, and you will see a whole bunch of code show up on that page if you have a blog. Okay, so great question. And if you've been feeding news to a page that is not a blog, I encourage you to start doing that right away. Katie asks a very savvy question. Would you recommend a drip marketing campaign as part of the nurture sequence? Yes. And that's actually what drip marketing is a term that came from the nurture sequence. And so it is part of that. Now, there's an equation that goes along with this. And Gary Vaynerchuk describes it terrifically in his book, Jab, 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 Right Hook, and a way to create value before you make an offer on social. Something that I think Jay Baer probably tells some better stories. But what I love about Gary Vaynerchuk is he gave us the formula. It's 3-to-1. So in your drip marketing campaign, Katie, what you really want to try to do there is to have a ratio of storytelling, delivering value. Here's something for free. Here's something useful, valuable, desirable for free. And then those are the jabs, and then the right hook comes in, and that's where you ask them to join, you ask them to donate, or you make your offer. So love that. Great question. It's a smart question about drip marketing campaigns. Love it. Anonymous attendee says, how can you get a mature audience to go through the step for an RSS feed? I think RSS feeds are genius, but they involve some technical steps that halts our targeted audience in their tracks. That's a great question, Mr. or Miss Anonymous. The question around the technological side, you can either do this stuff on your own, but I think the fastest route here is to outsource it. And so if you're working with someone like GrowthZone to manage your website, just reach out to your rep and ask them to show you where and show you how to use it. If you can send an email, you can post a blog. I promise. If you can send an email, you can post a blog. It's the same information. You got a subject line, that's a headline, and then you've got the content of the email. That's the blog itself. So it's as simple as that. It's just a matter of going to the right place. So instead of going to your browser, you're going to the back end of your website to make a post. So yeah, the blog is we're in some chambers and associations they've renamed their blog, right? Maybe it's news. Somebody brought that up earlier. I think Lisa brought that up earlier. The news might be the blog. Media, like some I've seen them call it news share. I work with a chamber where we call it Now. So if you go to their website /now, that is their blog. And because they're a current organization, we wanted to incorporate currency. We're always a current organization, so we just changed the name blog to now. So that's a great that's a great thing to think about. We want to try to keep this. Some people know to go to a blog, but you don't have to call your blog a blog. So the thing where the more mature or targeted audience doesn't know to click on a blog. One of my favorite tricks is to make your blog your homepage, and it's really simple to do. So it's not something that you have to learn how to do. It's something that you can work with your web designer to just say, you know what, the most current stuff is 2-3 clicks away, to get on the blog. No more. Our audience has limited patience, has limited attention span, or limited whatever. Let's just put our stuff right there. Okay. So, Google does this really well, by the way, Mr. and Miss Anonymous. If you go to google.com, there's just one thing you can do there: search. And so think about how you craft your homepage or whatever landing page people are coming to on your website. If that has become too scattered, then you're not going to engage them. So we want to try to identify one thing the one thing that you want them to do. So you can find an example of that. You can find an example of that on my website at kylesexton.com. Go to chamberdaily.com. That's a page that has one thing I want you to do. And that's sign up to get free Chamber Daily tips. That's an example of that landing page. And the blog, the nurture is going to happen after, and it's already sequenced. So it's invisible. Okay. So you're right. Some people are not attracted to the term blog. All right. John has another question. What's an example of a quality cancellation policy? John, that's a good question. I haven't curated any good cancellation policies, but essentially, I think besides the policy part, and I probably shouldn't have called it a cancellation policy, but the idea here is to show them how easy the steps are to cancel your membership, such as, so the question and the frequently asked questions, you don't want to bury it at the bottom. You want to put it pretty high up. I'd say top 3 or top 5. How easy is it to cancel my membership? And without any fluff, get right to the point. Say, it's so easy to cancel your membership. Just send an email to cancellation@johnschamber.com.org.net.us. Okay. Is by putting the steps on there. It's not the cancellation policy. It's not talking about necessarily the terms, because that can come with your offer. It's not the terms of cancellation or terms of the sale or terms of the agreement, but it's about talking about how simple it is to cancel the membership. That's the minimum viable product there. Can we use Calendly with GrowthZone sites? Yes, you can. It's as simple as adding a link to the right page. Deb says we currently use lead forensics when we follow up with visitors. They're creeped out by us knowing they were on our website. How do you recommend we frame that initial conversation by phone or email if we have it? So I get it, and I love lead forensics. And there's a variety of other technologies, and it does hit pretty hard on the creep factor. I think you really got to work on creating a compelling lead magnet, something that people will voluntarily give you their information for. I think what you should be using lead forensics, this is just my own personal opinion, you should be using lead forensics to figure out who came to your website and didn't give you their information, by tracking where they went on your website, what they were looking for, and then figuring out how to make an offer to them, that ethical bribe. Let's package up that information and trade it for the email address so that you can follow up with permission. That was on one of my slides earlier, the term permission marketing. So that's a great question. These are all really great questions. You all are pretty savvy about this stuff, and clearly you've done some research. Debbie asked the same question about the example of a cancellation policy. I think it would be an awesome thing. Maybe if you have a cancellation policy, here's what we should do. If you have a cancellation policy already, go ahead and email it to me, Kyle@kylesexton.com. I'm going to turn all of them into a lead magnet. I'll send them all out if you join. No. Or send it to Amy. I know Amy's not like looking for a whole bunch of these, but this is a sort of thing that can turn into lead magnet, right? Because you are all asking for samples. Here's a free sample of cancellation policy. These are things you need to think about what your members are also asking so that you can create a lead generation from it. Okay. So Jody asked for our blogs. Would you need them to describe to the blog? So here I kind of slipped past this little detail. You can subscribe to a blog. Okay. There are a variety of ways that you can do that. What I'm talking about is actually automating from an email list. Blog posts would automatically go by email to people who signed up for more information, but didn't necessarily sign up for your blog. Because if you're putting helpful, useful information on your blog and samples of the work that you do, then you're going to start engaging people. So the type of blog subscribe I'm talking about happens automatically on the back end. What you're looking for with your email provider is a feature called blog to broadcast. Okay. That allows you to automate that without them going in and taking another step to subscribe to your blog. That's the magic of blogs. Lots of questions about what's a recommended cancellation policy. I think we've nailed that one. How do you recommend having a blog and news page when most of your emails and newsletters are confidential due to the high level of members? Great question, Sophia. Not everything that we do in terms of newsletters is fit for the consumer public. However, one of the things that you'll find in the GrowthZone technology is the Member Information Center. This is a place where behind a login wall, you can have your blog, your news and information that goes just to your members. So you've got a public facing blog, and then you have a members only section. And so hopefully you're using that feature of GrowthZone or Chambermaster or MemberZone, whichever platform you're using. So Heath asks, hey, Heath, what's going on? Heath asks, should the cancellation policy be included in the membership package that we present as well as on the website? This gives us a chance to discuss it with future member. Heath, I've found that once you're face-to-face with someone, the cancellation policy part of things doesn't really come into play. I find that it does make I'm definitely finding it does make a difference in what I call the parachute member, the people who just kind of floated in, members in your inbox, right? It makes a difference for them. But if they schedule time with you, I have not found that they go, boy, I really want to do this, but I don't see your cancellation policy. They're in. If they book time with you, they're in. So great question. So let's see. Karen says she's got a cancellation policy, and oh, you've got a money back guarantee too. Fantastic. So I'm going to check that out. And in fact, Karen, if you wouldn't mind, maybe you've already done this. Maybe you could put that link in the chat. That would be terrific. So yeah. Oh, and I see Chris is in the chat. Hi, Chris from Colorado, the Basalt Chamber. She's my friend there. So awesome. All right. So I've got down to the bottom of the questions, and I think that's it, unless somebody's asking more questions. So
Kyle, there are some questions in the chat as well.
Great. Well, let's go overtime and let's get after it.
Let's see. So if you have time, it sounds like Kyle has a few minutes. If you guys need to sign off, no worries. It'll all be in the recording that'll be sent to you.
Will it be recorded?
We are going to record this. No, you're going to receive the recording. But if you want to stay on with this while Kyle tackles a few more questions, you are welcome to do so. So we will go ahead, and some of these may have been covered a little bit.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And we appreciate everyone that has shared resources with one another. I'm scrolling. Let's see here. Sorry, everyone. So for a drip marketing campaign to prospects, what messaging frequency do you recommend to remain top of mind but not annoying?
Once a week. Once a week is about the max. Now you can have, that's in a nurture sequence. There's two sequences behind the ethical bribe. One of them is a follow-up sequence, and that can be every day for 5 days, for 7 days, for 14 days, whatever you test and find is helpful. Okay. But the nurture sequence, probably no more than once a week. When your follow-up sequence has expired, your nurture sequence can go out about once a week. Now, in some industries and in some parts of the country, you may find that you may find that you've got a good reason to go more than that. I say test it. And you can set your blog to broadcast to that frequency. So what it will do, this is really cool. Once you hook it up, you can tell it how often you want to send an email, even though you're blogging every day. And I hope you are. I hope you're sending a post. I hope you're making a post, creating content on an average of once a day. It will collect those and send those in a single email according to the cadence or the timing that you have established. So it's pretty slick. What do you think, Amy?
I agree. So this is a great question. I totally get it. If you end up talking with someone, but they don't convert, how long should you keep following up until they ask you to stop? That is a tough one.
People will generally unsubscribe on their own. But if you've got somebody that's on your list, and this is where things get a little more controversial, not in terms of best practices, but people really just don't want to do this. There's a thing called scrubbing your list. And if you're using best practices in email marketing, you're delivering value. But if you're looking at somebody that's on your list that hasn't opened your email in 6 months, it's time to do what's called scrubbing the list. Scrubbing the list. That means removing or moving them out of your current list. If they're no longer opening your emails, here's actually what you're doing. You're reducing your deliverability rating of all of your emails by having, if you've got a list of 10,000, just as a round number, and half of those haven't opened your email in 6 months or beyond, but you really like having a list of 10,000, and you're sending a list, you're sending it you're sending every nurture thing, everything to 10,000 people, but half of them, and of the other half who have opened within 6 months, you've got a 20 to 35% open rate. By keeping the 5,000 of those on your list and in your broadcasts, you're actually reducing the deliverability across all the interwebs for emails that come from you and your organization. It's painful. It's painful to think about that. The more people that you add to your unscrubbed list that don't and won't open your email, if they've moved you to the delete bin of life, or they moved you to spam folder, or they've done something other than unsubscribe, if they haven't unsubscribed and they're still there and you're still sending them emails and they haven't opened a single one in 6 months or more, that's bringing your overall deliverability rating down. That's something that you got to fix. So I hope that, so your question was really about how long do we keep them on? Do we keep until they say stop? I want you to use an email management system so that you can follow all the can spam laws in the United States and Canada, and the GDPR laws. If you're a European organization, I saw that somebody's here from Dublin, so I hope to get there someday soon.
That is awesome. One thing that there's some questions about frequency, and one of the things that I will share is that with the GrowthZone marketing automation feature, one of the things that is pre-built in there is an onboarding sequence. So
yes!
Right. That's one less thing to take off, to move off your plate. Kyle's excited.
I'm so excited about this.
So that's something that you can count on as far as when you get that member, put them on that campaign, and it will make your life easier, which is what we all need.
Yes. So here's what I want you to do with that marketing automation sequence. I want you to understand that you have 6, maybe 7 touch points. And I want you to sequence these within the first 45 days. I want you to sequence this in the first 30 to 45 days. You have 90 days. You have 90 days. The first 90 days of your onboarding sequence, they make their decision to renew. Most members, it's weird. You think you got a year to renew them. You don't. You've got the first 90 days. So I want you to really think about your first 6 or 7 touch points, and I want you to condense those to the first 30 to 45 days. You will see an improved retention rate on first year renewals. And if you can do that to improve your first year renewals, it improves your retention rates overall, because that is the number that is the lowest. It's about 70% across all associations and chambers. First year renewal rates tend to be 65 to 70%. It's the lowest.
Exactly.
You got me all excited, Amy. I'm so glad that we do get to finally talk about this stuff. By the way, I don't work for GrowthZone. I just root for them and cheer for them, because I've been in this industry so long. I remember we talk about pre-COVID, we talk about pre-GrowthZone. I remember how cumbersome member management was before we had GrowthZone. So I'm a fan.
Well, we appreciate that. We have obviously gone over on time, so I will finish with this question, which everyone's wondering, but additionally, I'll share a few other things after that. This is from Megan, is it difficult to maintain such an amazing beard?
This is not laziness. I'll say that. Megan, you caught me off guard with that one. That's awesome. Is it difficult to maintain? It definitely takes maintenance. Megan, I don't recommend that you grow a beard, but maybe you're talking about, maybe your spouse or your spice growing one. So that's a different class. I think, Amy, we just discovered my next lead capture, what it takes to grow and maintain a magnificent beard. Your words, not mine.
Whatever works in this environment. So
Amy, there's one more question I saw in there. Is this going to be recorded? We joke about this because it's the number one question across all webinars, but I sometimes fantasize about doing a webinar that is not recorded and telling people no, because what if they actually just put down whatever they were doing and consume this and not have homework later?
I know. Exactly. So what's going to happen after this is all wrapped up is we will be sending an email to the email address that you used to register for the webinar. And that should go out in the next 24 hours. So keep an eye on your inbox. And if people had to leave early, or if you know someone that wasn't able to attend, they're going to receive the recording also. We will include the chat on the page so the link to the recording is what you'll get in the email. And we will include the chat on the page with the recording, as well as some of the other links that we talked about today, and some links to various resources. So you can be looking for that. Additionally, there is information on our website in the resources section about the marketing automation guide. I also put that link in the chat. So something that I really recommend that you check out. It's about marketing automation in general, not just the GrowthZone feature that we have. So there is that. And if you have any other questions or feedback, you can reach us at marketing@growthzone.com, and it comes to my email box. So I will definitely see anything that comes through. And I think that that's about it. We'll also put that slide deck in there on the recording page. So thank you to Kyle, and thank you to everyone.
Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, and thanks to everyone that attended. We appreciate you taking your time, and wish you a great rest of the week. And keep an eye out for our next webinar. We'll be sending out details soon. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye, guys.